Here's the Adam Ginning cross check on Sonny Milano, but I'm going to treat it more like a boarding just because of location on the ice. So things I'll be looking for: was there a proper angle of approach? Was there any unnecessary outward or upward explosion? Was there any attempt to soften the impact? Was there any arm extension or follow through? And did the player leave their feet? And here's the clip. A shot comes from the point, the rebound goes to the corner, and Ginning and Milano are both going for it, and Ginning sends Milano into the boards. But here's the interesting fact about it. Milano cuts in front of Ginning to try and block him from the puck, which he's supposed to do, but watch his left foot. He just can't get it around in time before Ginning puts pressure on his back. So his toe's actually pointing sideways, and that's why he can't really protect himself. So he gets pitched forward a little bit from the initial hip-on-hip contact. And they called it a cross-check, which I understand why, but looking at it, obviously slowed down 1,000 times. You can see that the stick is resting on the back, and it's more of a push on the follow-through from bumping him with the lower body, lower hips, and stick on the back. And then once the stick is resting on his back, he then kind of pushes more. So it's more hips and stick all at the same time pushing. And yeah, there is some pretty meaningful arm follow-through extension, but I think that's more of a result of there being not nearly as much resistance but from Milano at this point as he thought there'd be, because Milano was already pitched forward by that time. Now, before I make my ruling, I would also like to point out that I just wonder how differently this would have gone if Ginning had not gone in with the approach of having the stick up in two hands parallel to the ice like that in a cross-checking fashion. If he'd gone into this with his stick on the ice in one hand and used his hips the entire time and angled and keeping the stick out of it completely. So the decisive factors to me are: it was an appropriate angle of approach for the situation, not directly through the back. There was no unnecessary outward or upward explosion on initial contact. It was just hip to hip, stick on back. Was an attempt to soften the impact by not driving the stick through the back, but rather resting on the back first before pushing through. There was arm extension follow through, but again, it was more after Milano was already pitched forward, and it didn't contribute significantly to the force of the impact, just mildly. And he didn't even come close to leaving his feet, so that's not an issue at all. So at that, I would say definitely a minor penalty, but for Adam Ginning, no supplemental discipline recommended.